Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today.
Hey, Rich, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Andy Myers. How about yourself?
I'm in extreme pain, my friend.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it's okay.
What's
my problem?
What's going on?
I hurt my back again. I've already had back surgery and everything else, and up in Sturgis, I hurt my back, and I've got multiple bulging discs, and the doctors in America are just horrendous. So it's been a month, and I finally last Friday got my first MRI. And my wife called the doctor today and said, "What are we going to do?" And she's like, "Well, we can get you in on October 7th and see if you need a surgery. And if you need a surgery, that'll be in January or February." And I'm like, I slept in a fetal position last night because I'm in so much pain. I'm like, I can't wait till January or February.
Right.
So right when you called, we were having a family meeting, and we're discussing, when do I get on the plane and go back to Bangkok and see my doctors in Thailand, because they'll have me in and out of surgery within a week or so.
Wow.
It's just American medical. I was in the little debate last night listening to Trump and Harris talk about the Unaffordable Health Care Act was the most infuriating thing I've ever heard in my life. So that's where I'm at with it all. Like, American healthcare is the worst in the world.
It's not healthcare. It's the healthcare industry is all run by the insurance industry.
It's only about your insurance, and they're not in. And listening to Harris, Trump say he was going to fix it, but he didn't have anything better. And then listen to Harris say, "Well, we got cheaper medical, we got cheaper prescriptions, we got cheaper prescriptions for making." Like, you're not talking about solving problems. You're talking about putting band-aids on problems for companies to make an ungodly amount of money off of the people.
Right.
You're not talking about solving a problem. Why? The surgery I need is just a one-day surgery. You can walk right in, they can do it, and you can walk out. And then you're done. I know this. But telling me they can't do it till January or February is lunacy.
Yeah.
So I'm just in pain, and I don't know. I got a lot of stuff to do, and I can't walk. I physically cannot move at all, really.
Are you up to doing this, or do you want to wait?
No, I'm fine. I can talk.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a problem. It's an unbelievable inconvenience, right?
Right.
That's all it is. It's just a massive inconvenience. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I've been waiting to get my knee replaced, and they want me to, and I'm to the point where I can hardly walk. I wear a brace all the time, but I use my cane a lot. But we went to the 49er game on Monday night, and there was a lot of walking involved, and I was feeling okay before then, but now it's like I don't want to be on it for another week or so because of it's just not the knee. It's the pain goes all the way down into the foot, all the way into the hip.
Yep.
And,
Oh, I know.
and I know the herniated disc thing. That's what happened to me when I put on all my weight when I was 30. I blew my disc out, and I wouldn't go in for a surgery because I saw all my friends do, any of my friends that had, they herniated a disc and they had replacement or whatever the hell they did, fusing it. They were back in 8 months or to a year getting another one done. I'm like, well, fuck.
I was lucky, man. I did mine in 2010. They did an L4 and L5 surgery on me.
Right.
And I've been good for 14 years. I went for 5 years doing Muay Thai, throwing leg kicks. I freaking rode motorcycles around the world, raced the vintage cars for the Nora 1000, ran the UTV rallies and each one of those,
Right.
I'm doing 150 miles a day. This last one I just did this past May, we did 4 rides, and each one of them were 100-mile rides.
Wow.
Yeah, and then of course I got super fit, and then I been doing these motorcycles and coffee events, and I got to build 20 by 40, 20 by 50 booths with cafeteria and serving coffee and everything. I was fit, and then something in Sturgis, I picked something up or moved wrong, and I was done, man.
Yeah, it's amazing how little something can, you don't think it's going to be a big deal, and all of a sudden, man, it just goes. Yep.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's absolutely the worst thing I've experienced in a long time, and I've been hurt a lot in my life, and I'm used to pain, and I've literally have 7 concussions, chopped my fingers off. I have no chin. I have no shoulder. I've broken every single bone on the right-hand side of my body. I've torn both my knees apart. I've done it all, man. I've done it all. I've done more shit to my body than most people will ever do, just because of pro mountain biking and rock climbing mountains. I used to climb mountains and shit, and did that survival stuff, that like Bear Guile shit for a while. And don't ever do that. That was fucking and some scary shit. When it goes south, man, it goes south fucking fast.
Right.
And I was writing for magazines and shit, but yeah, I did a lot of terrible things to my body in my life on top of my fucking drinking and shit. So lucky to be where I'm at. So I just don't complain. I just wake up and say, fuck it. I can deal with the pain and go for it. My biggest fear right now, Rich, is me going to Thailand and trying to get through the airports.
Right.
Because I can't walk further than like 20 feet, 30 feet, right? And so that's my biggest fear. But my hospital, if you ever need it, I'm serious. If you ever need it, I'll give you the information for the Bumrungrad Hospital in Thailand. It's one of the top 10 hospitals in the world. And it's where I've done my surgeries and everything else. But if you get to the point where it just sucks, just call me. Fly to Thailand. It's $600, man, to fly there. And they told me they're gonna pick me up at the door of the airplane, take me through their special line there for medical tourism, and immigration, and then they'll take me straight to the hospital and get me taken care of.
Wow.
But yeah. But that hospital is absolutely amazing. They did my back surgery, everything for $6,000 versus 80,000 in the U.S.
Right.
Yeah, and it was the best. It was the best, and that's what I did. I called them and I just said, "Hey, this is Andy Myers." And they're like, "Well, were you a patient here?" I said, "Sure." And they looked it all up, and then, "Mr. Myers, we can have you in here on this day, do your MRI. The doctor, we talked to the doctor. They put me on hold. Doctor will see you on this day. Let's get you in here as soon as possible." So I think that's what I'm doing. I'm going to fly back and get that taken care of.
Well, I hope you're able to do that and get taken care of. That's for damn sure.
Me too, because I physically can't do a thing. It's terrible. It's miserable. Like last night was terrible. You're in the same boat. If you got a knee problem.
Yeah, I'm sleeping maybe, a solid sleep for maybe 2 hours a night. The rest of the time it's tossing and turning, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. Sucks.
Yeah, last night I fell asleep because I was just stretching, right? I had my knee up to my chest, and I woke up in the morning and I still had my knee to my chest.
Oh,
I was
wow.
but it felt great. It was the best position I could have been in. I was like,
Right.
I slept, it didn't hurt. So, yeah, fetal position on my couch in my living room is terrible.
Yeah.
I get it. No, I don't know what you want to talk to me about in your podcast. I'm just Andy, man. I just hang out,
I know you are, but you've got a cool story. I believe you have a cool story. All the things that you've done, and this podcast, it's about the individuals that I interview and their life story. But what I hope the listeners glean from it is maybe not just a better understanding of the person that I'm interviewing and what they've gone through, but what their drive was to continue doing what they did to get where they're at today. And it's everybody I've interviewed is a success story in some way. Some of them it's been a really hard road. Just get beat down, stand up, get beat down, stand back up, get beat down, stand back up, and then finally things come together. That's kind of my story. And that's what I want people that are interested, enthusiasts in off-road, especially, because that's the focus of it. But it's the life story on how they can do the same thing if they wish to get out of the mundane life that they're in. Because nobody really likes working 9 to 5 and punching a time clock and sitting at a desk for somebody else. There's people that have accepted it because that's their way of life, but it doesn't have to be that way. And so what I hope to do is if I can get one person a year to just say, fuck it, I'm going to go do this. And, this is my dream. This is what I've wanted to do. I'm just going to step on it and do it.
That's cool.
That's what this podcast is all about.
So, that's cool. Yeah.
And I think you fit that mold. You've looking at your history just from around 2000, is pretty incredible. So,
yeah, I've never had a job, and I've never worked, and I don't have any government loans. I don't have any debt. I don't have a credit card. I have nothing. I started out basically homeless, right? So, yeah, I just built up everything by myself with my wife. I don't have any brothers and sisters and stuff, so it's just me and her and the kid, and that's it.
Well, I think we're going to start this interview a little differently than what I've done others. I'm just going to take it from when we started on the phone call, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, well, then what I want to do is I want to introduce everybody that's listening right now to Andy Meyer. Andy is what he self-styles himself as just a blue-collar worker doing the humble hustle. I love that tagline. That is you, absolutely 100%. I think that fits a couple of other people that have been on my podcast, including myself. I didn't come from anything special. My parents were definitely blue collar, and I figured that was going to be my life, and it has been, but I've done it my way. And Andy, it looks like you've done it your way too. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, I've never really had a job. I started out as a kid and owned some record labels and played in bands and did that, learned my marketing and all my stuff. And I was fortunate enough to be around some amazing marketing people when I was growing up, and really learned a lot from them. And some of those guys, specifically two of them, are two of the biggest names in marketing in the world. They've become. So being around them and understanding and being around you got to hustle or die, It's just nobody's going to help you. And I've also always maintained the attitude that no one's helping me, so I've got to make it happen on my own. And that means that you put in 18, 20-hour days and you work ridiculously hard 7 days a week. And there's no quit. You have to do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah, and all of your even your recreation and downtime is still focused around whatever your hustle is at that point.
Yeah, when I was a kid, when I was a young man, I used to do the mountain bike stuff, road bike stuff, rock climbing, and all of that backcountry adventure stuff, and writing for magazines. And I was probably 21, 22. I was coming down Gates Pass Road on a training ride down in Tucson, and I got hit by a car and broke every single bone in the right-hand side of my body. Physically destroyed me. And I was literally in a this is the only thing that's kind of weird in my life, but I was literally in a hospital room by myself. Parents weren't there. No, I don't have brothers and sisters, and because I'm an introvert and I'm kind of a loner. No friends, nobody was there, and I swear, Jesus, God, whatever you want to call him, came into that room that night and was like, "You only get one chance in life, man. Don't screw it up." And I made a decision at that point in life, and I was like 21, 22 years old, that anything I did from that day on would specifically revolve around everything I love to do. And I would make my living out of it, whether I was living in a tent, homeless, living whatever. It didn't matter. I was just going to do what I absolutely loved. And that's what I did. And the minute I got out of that hospital, I got better, and I jumped on a bicycle and I cycled most of the world. Well, Mexico, Central America, Europe, Eastern Europe, Spain, and Italy. And then I met my wife, and that was it. Man, I've never had a job. I just finished college degrees and paid off my college degrees, and within 3 years of graduating, and never took on any debt, no credit cards, and just worked ridiculously hard.
And where were you born and raised?
I was born in Cincinnati, but I moved around like a vagrant with my family, like a vagabonds. We lived in Ohio, we lived in Colorado, and we lived in Arizona. But I've since then lived in Thailand, London, and Mexico.
And Mexico is where you met Nora, right?
I met Nora on my birthday when I was bicycling parts of the world, and I met her in Mexico City on my birthday. And I vowed, after I met her, we just talked, and I just told my friend when I was there, I was like, I'm gonna marry her. And he's like, you're never gonna see her again, man. You're leaving for the next year to go ride a bicycle around the world. And like, no. And I sent her postcards every stop I did when I could. And then when I got, this is pre-GPS, pre-email, Google Maps and all that crap.
Right.
So there you are, tooling along on my little bicycle around Europe with no idea how to speak any of the languages. And we also didn't have the euro. We were all independent currencies then, and there wasn't very many ATMs, especially in Eastern Europe. And but anyway, I was sending her postcards, and I got home and I drove down to Mexico, down to Baja, and I met her, and we've been together for 30-something years.
Wow, that's awesome.
She's everything to me.
That's awesome. That's what a relationship should be.
Oh yeah, she's right here beside me right now with me working, so it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's my everything.
So let's start at the beginning, which you've already kind of done, but the bicycling trip through Europe and everything, was that what was your mindset going into that? What were you looking for?
I wanted to understand who I was. So I went to college, and I really I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was going. I was really a confused young man. I played in music. I created a product while I was in college at Northern Arizona University. I sold it to a big company, and that's what I did, is design products, and I would sell them to companies, and I'd receive commission checks or royalty checks while I was going to college, and that helped me pay for a lot of my college. And I dropped out of business school up there because we had a falling out with one of the teachers. That's a very interesting conversation. That's a great one, actually. But moved back to Hollywood, played music over there. Woke up one day and just realized that just wasn't for me. I wasn't that guy. So I moved back to U of A and went to school, and yeah, that's basically. I realized then that I needed to discover, who I was, and that was a really good way to. I'm really an introvert, so I like to be alone. I like to be in the middle of nowhere by myself, and yeah, it was good for me. It was really it was a cleansing. It got me focused on who I needed to be.
You said your parents moved around a lot. Was that because of work?
Yeah, just work. They just moved. My dad, he built sales rooms for big newspapers, so he did like the Cincinnati Enquirer, Cincinnati Post, Denver Post, Rocky Mountain News, Mesa Tribune, Tempe Tribune,
Okay.
Tempe Daily News, or whatever, and a bunch of magazines. And he did one up in San Jose. He did one in Trenton, New Jersey. But that's what he did. Yeah.
So moving around, do you think that's what led to you being an introvert? Is always being the new kid,
No, being the only kid.
the only kid?
Just being the only kid and moving. Yeah, I guess moving around, because you don't really establish a friend base, right?
Right.
So wherever you go, you just kind of are alone with people. You're just alone all the time. So you just find your way to do things and how to get through things. So that's pretty much it. But I always had a marketing side to me, so yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was all right.
Okay. And then you were talking about falling out with an instructor and leaving college for a while. What was you said that's an interesting story. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so I created a product for the mountain bike industry, and I had long hair, like dreads and stuff, and I was a crusty kid, just a bit, just mountain kid, just living in the woods, right? And didn't look the best, but I lived on my bicycle. I didn't even own a car. I didn't own a car up until I was probably 22, 23 years old. And I just rode a bicycle everywhere. And I created a product, and I was in the marketing class, and, it was things where they would ask you to create a product, bring it to class, market it, show us what you got, all that kind of stuff. So I did that, and I walked in, I brought my bicycle in, and I was just dressed the way I was, and I did the presentation and said, this is what the product is, blah, blah, blah. Walked out, and the guy gave me an F. And I'm like, I'm not an F student, man. I'm a straight A student. I don't get Fs, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's like, well, your presentation, you didn't dress right, you didn't look right, you didn't clean up, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And I just dropped a stack of checks on his desk and said, I've already sold that product. These are the royalty checks I've been receiving now while I'm here at the university. And he's like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah. I go, if I would have walked into that company all dressed in your suit and clean cut and looking like that, they would have laughed me out. You have to be respectful to the industry you're in, and you got to be part of that industry.
Know your market. Yep.
You got to know it. You got to eat shit, breathe, live it. You can't just walk in and bullshit it. And excuse my language. And that's it. So then I walked over to the dean and I said, I'm out, man. You got teachers teaching here that don't really know what they're teaching. And he's like, you can't drop out. You're one of our top students, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm out. And I moved back to Hollywood and went back to Hollywood and Vine, Hollywood Billiards, and got into practice shed and started practicing with bands and realized that ain't for me.
Right.
Anymore. That lifestyle went away a while ago. So, yeah.
So then you got on your bike and hit Europe.
I went back to U of A, got hit by the car.
Oh, that's right.
And then, I got hit by the car the second week I was there. And then from there, I went to Europe after I graduated from U of A.
Okay.
And then I took off on the bike and, and then lived in Mexico and was a professor down at the Tec de Monterrey in Guadalajara at the ITESM, which is Mexico's #1 school. and I taught international business and the history of Mexico to Mexicans in Guadalajara.
That must have been interesting.
Mm, that was a life-changing thing. You only hear about Mexican people not having any money, being poor, and all of this, and here I am at the most elite school in all of Mexico, one of the most elite schools in South America, and teaching these kids, these really ridiculously high-level, wealthy individuals, and it was absolutely amazing. It was amazing. It was one of the most eye-opening things I ever did in my life.
So
And it was wonderful.
how many languages do you speak?
I speak four. I speak English, German, Thai, and Spanish.
Wow. I can't even get away speaking good English. I,
Yeah, I don't know how good I am at German. My German went away, but I still can get away with a little bit here and there.
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
took Spanish in school and I took German in school, and I can I can order a beer and find the bathroom in both languages, and that's about it.
yeah, yeah. I get that. Yeah, no, when I lived in Mexico, of course, I ran the companies there that we own, and then in Thailand, I owned a business there, and for 5 years, and I had to teach myself Thai, so I wrote a business curriculum for a dual language school in Thailand, and I wrote it for business Thai. So I told them this is how businessmen need to be able to speak Thai, as opposed to the first day I went in there, like, there's an apple in the tree, and I'm like, well, that's not going to get me anywhere. So I wrote the whole big business curriculum for a Thai language school, and it helped me learn Thai really quick, so I could do business over there.
Incredible. So timeline wise, you get off your bike. Um, you
Got it.
that's when you taught in Mexico.
Yes, after I did that, and of course me and Nora were chatting, and the email had come around, and we were emailing back and forth from Guadalajara, and she's in Mexicali, Baja, and we're chit chatting, and she's graduating from college. And when she graduated, I moved to Mexicali, and I started designing for. I was already designing clothes, but I've been designing clothes since I was a little kid. But gear, not clothes. And we got into design. I opened a factory down there to make clothes for some pretty big companies. We were doing, we did some stuff for REI. We did Columbia. We did some stuff for Columbia. We did some stuff for some pretty big companies. And me and her were running it. And not those companies that I just mentioned, but a few that I don't mention ever, didn't pay their bills. And in Mexico, it's brutal if you don't pay your bills. It's a very socialist country. It's not like America. And unfortunately, they didn't pay, and you've got 50 plus employees on your dollar, and you got to pay them every week. And we couldn't do it. We weren't getting paid. Money wasn't coming in, and I lost everything that I had saved up for. Me and Nora lost everything. And then it was really bad. During that time, there was a period of time in Mexico when the in the 2000s where the economy was so good that there was actually a labor shortage, where there was just too much work in Mexicali in Mexico, and there wasn't enough employees. So some really underhanded tactics were going on to get employees to go from one business to another business. And one of those things is that we always had to pay people in cash down there. This is like direct deposit into your accounts and all that kind of stuff, at least in Mexico. So every Thursday you would have a big wad of cash in your hand and you make a payment to all your employees. Well, one of our business associates had a mole in his company. That mole told the wrong people that he pays on this day with cash. The wrong people walk in his building and tell him to give him his money. He says no, and they shot him in the head in front of all his employees. And Nora called me on that day, and I said, you know what, just close it. That could have been us. There's no need for this. We're not making any money, and it's really stressful already. We don't need someone getting hurt. And let's just be done with this. Let's wash our hands of this. And we lost everything, and we were actually getting married the following week. And
Wow.
so we asked everyone to give us our wedding gifts and stuff in cash or with receipts so we could return them. And yeah, it was horrible. My best friend at the time, best friend bought, rented my suit. Parents bought Nora's wedding ring because I had nothing. I got married, and I had my little S10 pickup truck, and we jumped in it. And for our honeymoon, we drove around the United States, and I took Nora to all the different places in the United States to eat different types of food. So we went to like Mesilla Valley for Hatch chilies, and we went to barbecue in Texas. We went to Cajun food down in Louisiana. We went to Tennessee for pancakes. We just had a good trip. It was really cool.
Awesome. Again, doing it your way.
I guess so,
Yeah.
I just didn't have anything. We just slept in the truck.
Right.
And I was lost. I was really lost because it was hard. But I created a product called the Dickie. And it's a thing we used to ride. I used to make them for when I'd cycle up in Flagstaff, and it keeps you warm. And a Dickie, if anyone remembers a Dickie from World War I, it was a patented product. It was a really cool product. Wraps around your neck and hangs down the front of your chest. And anybody who does any outdoor stuff understands the purpose of a Dickie. You don't get cold, and you don't get cold on the back of your elbow. You get cold in your chest and your throat. And if you can keep your main artery running up through your neck warm, it will keep your body warm because you're keeping your blood warm, and because your body pumps so much blood through your body. Most important artery is either on your wrist or on your neck. So if you're ever out and you're getting hypothermia, put your hand over your wrist or on your neck and keep your neck and your hand warm, and that hypothermia will be staved off for a while. Anyway, so I made that product, showed it to Nora's family down in Mexicali, Baja. And if anybody knows, Mexicali is one of the hottest places in the fucking world, excuse my language. And they don't have very many motorcyclists, and they don't have snow. And I show it to her dad and her mom, and like, this is what we're going to make, and we're going to sell it to motorcyclists. And they're like, you should probably go back to bed. They're like, there are no motorcyclists. It's not cold. And it was pretty cute. But me and Nora went to the first Arizona Bike Week on Grand Avenue, and we're already motorcycle people. And we have 2 milk crates and 4 pieces of wood, and we're sitting on the curb, and we put all the product on the pieces of wood, and the bikers rallied around us. They bought every single thing, and in 110-degree heat, they bought it all. And the next day, when we got back to the house, Bob Drone, Oakland Harley Davidson, calls me up, orders a whole bunch of stuff. Anybody knows Oakland, you know what Oakland and motorcycles have in common. And after that, 2 days later, Rick Conley from Custom Chrome calls me and places a massive order. And we were embraced into the motorcycle market. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we've got to make all this product.
Yep. We worked, and my parents let me live back in their house. We took over their garage, and me and Nora would sit in the garage and cut. I would cut all night, and then during the day we would sew. Well, she would sew, and I would go work jobs so I could pay off all the problems we had in Mexico. And we worked multiple jobs, and we cut, sewed in that hot garage, and our neighbors in that neighborhood would watch us. And next thing you know, after they all get off work, they would all come to the garage and help us. They'd bring, cases of beer. They'd all come in and they'd help us package product, cut product. And we're talking grown men with jobs. And they would just come in and hang out. Even the ladies would come over and bring food and stuff. And it was really beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful things.
And that was in Mexico, or was that in Arizona?
That was in Arizona.
Okay.
And then So we got ready and we thought we were cool. We thought we knew what we were doing. And we go up to Sturgis and this guy sells us a booth and we get screwed on the booth. And this old man walks by and his name's Bob Anderson. And this is probably the coolest story. This is the coolest motorcycle story in my life. He looks at me and he's like, "What are you kids doing?" And we're like, "We got screwed, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Come on." And he drags us up to Main Street in Sturgis, goes inside of his store, tells all these vendors, "Get out of the way and make room for the kids." And he makes room for us. And we set up, and Bob Anderson was one of the founders of Sturgis. And it was his store. It's Anderson Hardware. It's still on Main Street. He's long passed by now. And yeah, if it wasn't for him, we did 2 years in his store. He let us use the bathrooms for showers, and we slept in the back of our truck and behind the store. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
That was badass.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then our company blew up. It just blew up. I don't know. It blew up. It was pretty amazing. It just worked 24 hours a day.
And that was Champa?
Yeah, Champa. Yeah. Yeah, it blew up. It just blew up. Amazing. And during that time, I was like, I had this me and Nora being from Baja and me being an off-road kid and motorcycle kid, I was like, let's do a motorcycle show. So we put on the first Arizona Motorcycle Expo at the Phoenix Convention Center. And that year, the year before that, the Sand Sports Show had just started. And of course, I was at the very first Sand Sports Show. I was blown away. That thing was packed. It was unbelievable. It was just in one hall. And anybody who was there, and I've got a few people that I know that were truly there at that first one, they'll testify. That was one of the most amazing things you could have ever been at. And they sold out of beer in the first 2 hours. It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah. And the amount of people was just unbelievable. And it was just one hall. It's nothing like it was today. So I got together with Pete, with the guys who put on the Off-Road Expo and Sand Sports. And I said, "Hey, I want to do a Sand Expo in Arizona. You guys mind?" And we all made a great pact. We were like, "Hey, I'll come to your show and market our show. You can market your show at our show." And it was really cool. It was a great synergy. So I started put on the Arizona Sand Expo back in 2002. And yeah, it just blew up, man. And then I was doing the motorcycle show, and we started doing the Discovery Channel biker build-offs with it. And all during that time, I'm growing companies and building land companies, and and doing all the shows around the country. And then we started going to Europe, and we started going all the events in Europe, so much so that we had a flat in London. And in Baja, of course, we went to Baja for all the races, and it was just amazing. It's all my life. It's all I've done. It's off-road and motorcycles and travel.
And produce products.
And design. I love designing. I have 8 patents now, so yeah.
So let's go back to that first product you designed while you were in college for mountain biking. What was it?
Yep. It was just a pad for a mountain bike, and it's because I freaking wrecked on a mountain bike and ripped my nuts open, my nut sack open, and I was like, we should probably put a pad there.
Out of necessity.
That's it. We created a product, and I was like, we should really make a pad. So I hired a bunch of ladies off the res up in Flag, and they'd come to my apartment. And a lady here in Arizona who's one of my childhood best friend's mom, and she was an entrepreneur and she owned businesses. She funded the entire project, and she funded several projects of mine, helped me out. And to this day, she's one of my best friends. And she paid for it, and she got her lawyers involved for patents and making sure I got my right royalties and all of that together. And we had a bunch of res ladies, a bunch of Indians, Native Americans, working in my apartment all day while I was in college, while I was in school. And I'd come home, and they'd have all the product ready, and I'd go sell it. And I was like, well, this ain't going to work. So I just started selling products to bigger companies, and that's what I did for a long time. And then I moved on from that for a while.
Nice. Very good. So we actually met in Baja with,
Mm.
I mean, I may have met you with your first off-road expo. I believe I was there at one of the first ones down in Phoenix. I think it was 2003 or 4 or something like that. And
Yeah,
then
we were at
go ahead.
yeah, we were at the convention center for a while, and then the Phoenix Convention Center went through some changes where they redesigned the convention center, and while they were doing the construction, we moved out of there, and I took over the entire state fairgrounds because we were having the motorcycle show and the off-road show together at the same time. So I literally, I mean, it was pretty ballsy for a little kid to do, but I was a young guy. But I literally rented out the entire facility. I mean, the track, all the buildings, all the parking lots. It was a pretty lofty endeavor. Now that I look back on it, talk about, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at the convention center, and then you and I talked about putting some rock formations or something together at it never came together because there was a noise ordinance or something
Yes.
at
Yeah,
the
that was
at the fairgrounds, and then of course the dirt expos later on and stuff. But then we met again when you were sponsoring Pete
Yep.
down in Baja.
That came about. We were doing the magazine, so I did the Sand Show, and I created Desert Sports, which eventually became Dirt Industry Magazine and Sand Industry Magazine. And I was doing that just because it was just pure love, right, for the desert and what I do and my lifestyle. And it was just, that's the only reason I did it. I never really did it for economic gain. I just did it because I loved it. And I was down there and I met Josh Rigsby, and me and Josh have a lifelong friendship. And then we met Pete, and we were working with Pete quite a bit, and we were working with a few different people down there. And me and Pete were like, I was like, I'll sponsor you. And me being me, I just went huge with it. And so we had Pete, we had Josh, we had the Class 1 car, we had the trophy truck, we had all the dirt bike guys. We were sponsoring Steve Hengeveld a little bit, not much, but Steve's a really good friend of mine. And then we had our dirt bike teams. I think we had 2 dirt bike teams. We had Lyman Shear and his dirt bike group, and we had Craig and his dirt bike group. We had a mat. We took over the entire hotel marina. What is it called? The marina. What is it called? Marina something. It's the big pink hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pink one there, marina. I don't know the name of it. You'd think I
marina.
would.
Yeah, it's something marina.
Yeah, so we'd take over that whole complex. Basically, it was freaking amazing. It was definitely one of the coolest communities you could have ever been part of. That whole group was amazing, tied together by Josh and Pete, and those were really, really beautiful days. Those were beautiful days of my life.
And Pete was, he's being inducted into Ormhoff, the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame this November. And November 3rd, and it's that's a treat for me. I'm very happy to see that, and being part of the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame board of directors, I'm absolutely thrilled that he's being inducted. Although too late, I wish he was still with us to be able to accept the honor himself, and be able to hold that trophy up in front of people that were doubters or haters, and say, "See, even the commoner can do it," type thing. But
well, that was a beautiful thing with me and Pete. We were both just kids trying to do it, right?
Right.
And we had a really, really wonderful synergy. Unfortunately, my wife had plans for a family, and it was during the 2008 period. And I'm looking at my wife, and she's trying to have children, and we were doing in vitro and all that, and it's extremely expensive.
Right.
And I just can't. With 2008, the show's slowing down dramatically, life changing, looking at businesses and just looking at the whole world at that point. And I was like, wow, I don't want to go back to living in a truck. I better, pull in the reins quite a bit here and make some hard business decisions. And unfortunately, I had to cancel contracts with sponsors. People I was sponsoring at that time made people unhappy, as people get unhappy when you don't give them money anymore. And that was a falling out with me and Pete, and it was terrible. And while I'm not a social media guy, I don't get on there and bitch and moan and do all that. I never got in there and said anything. I don't know where that all went, but Pete was really unhappy with me, and it is what it is. But at the end, after a while, he had an accident there, and not when he died, but before that, me and him got back together, and we embraced, and we became really, really good friends again. And I can honestly say the last couple of years with Pete was pretty wonderful for me and my family, because he was coming back to the shows. He was hanging out with me. I would meet up with him at places, and it was very cordial and amicable. And it was again, I use the word beautiful because that's the only word I have for it. It was beautiful.
Right. Yeah, Pete was was a fiery type personality. He could be your best friend one minute, and then he could be, felt he was wronged, or you did something that he didn't like, and it was tough. And but that's one of the things that also was, it was Pete. So that's yeah.
This is what makes individuals, right? So
right.
Everybody's got a style, a way of being. Mine is introvert, very quiet, and his was, loud, and that's what I loved about him. He was there, and I'm like, we worked really well together because I wasn't loud, and he was loud, and he was a personality, and that's what it takes sometimes when you're just doing, you know what I mean, and you're trying to get out there. You need that. And we needed each other at that time, and it worked. I think everybody who was affiliated with that group when we were Champa and the trophy truck would agree that was probably the best days. Yes. I don't care what anyone says. That was definitively, the Champa teams were the best days of all of us. So, and I'll back that up to the day I die. I think it was wonderful. I think it was absolutely wonderful. If you think about the camaraderie and all the friendships and the people that were developed out of that team, the lifelong friendships, I don't think you get that anywhere else. And we needed that alpha in that group. While I'm an alpha male, I'm a different type of alpha, but you needed that alpha like Pete that was the focal point to draw it all together, and he did a great job.
Yeah, agreed.
He did a wonderful job. And what he did for off-road racing and the common man and the backyard builders and all of that world was probably more important than, and I don't think there's anybody else that's given that kind of contribution to the everyman builder type world.
Agreed.
I mean, the class 8 guys loved him. Class 7 guys were all over it. The 1400 guys, the pre-runner guys, that was his grind, man. That was who he was. You don't have a truck called Harbor Freight because you're rich.
Right. And that thing never seemed to break down.
Oh yeah, dude.
It did, but it just
I've been in it when it broke down.
But I can remember going down the track, making sure the trophy truck made it, things like that.
We did that.
Some good times.
But he did wonderful, and that was a great part of my life, and it's something that I'll never get back. I'll never have again. But at least we all had a wonderful moment in that moment of time, right?
Right. So you
So,
also
yeah.
did some motorcycle adventuring
Well,
through Asia.
let's do the off-road Hall of Fame, because that's
Okay.
coming up, right?
All
For
right.
me, that's a big deal. And
Yes.
back in 98, 99, I sponsored Dakar guys, and one of the groups I sponsored was John Deacon, which is the BMW Gloss team.
Okay.
And that was famous because we have Jimmy Lewis being inducted.
A very good
And
friend of mine. Yep.
Jimmy's a friend as well. And Jimmy was on the team with John Deacon. And so being able to sponsor that group was wonderful back when I was just a kid, right?
Right.
And then we move on, and I've been able to work with the Nora 1000 for quite a while now, making safety apparel, sponsoring them, doing things for Mike Perlman. And Mike is one of the most amazing guys I've ever met. And he's a very good friend of our family. And to have Mike Perlman being inducted, Jimmy, and Pete,
Trifecta. Yeah.
That's pretty spectacular to be part of. I didn't do anything really. I'm just a guy but I was there, and it makes me proud.
Right.
That's it. I don't know how to say that, and I do need to get tickets, Rich, for the family.
It's a great show. It really is.
Oh, I've been to.
Yeah,
I've been there, but I've got to get tickets for this one coming up for me and my kids and my wife, because we all need to be there. But yeah, it's the Off-Road Hall of Fame. This is a big one for me and my family. We have to be there.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I know that Mike should be there, and Jimmy, of course, will be there, and Pete's family will be there. I'm sure of that, and of course, and a lot of his friends. So it'll be.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a good family gathering. I'm looking forward to this one more so than I have others in the past.
No, I think this is for like I said, it's our little community, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome. I think it's going to be one of the best. I told my wife, I'm going to take the kids out of school. We're all going. This is important. We'll only do this once in life. Let's get it done.
Cool. So
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I just got to get the tickets. And then back to the adventure bike motorcycle stuff. So that's something that developed out of bicycle riding around the world. I mean, I used to ride back and forth from Flagstaff to Phoenix on Wednesdays to see my parents, and I rode on the bicycle. That's a good 200-mile ride. Get up at 3 a.m. and ride. And I've ridden the entire state of Arizona on bicycles and motorcycles. But my love for travel really took off with the motorcycle thing, and I've motorcycled a lot of the planet, every continent except Australia and Antarctica, of course.
Wow.
I've been everywhere on a motorcycle, and every type of motorcycle, from a Vespa, a Harley, a BMW. I've done Hondas. I've done scooters. I've done it all. I've done every kind of bike you could just about imagine. And of course, this is our 27th year at Sturgis. And it's 1000% who I am as a human being. I don't know football. I don't know soccer. I don't know baseball or basketball. I only know off-road and motorcycles. That's it. That's my love, and that's what I do.
Very cool. So what was on those adventures on the motorcycle? What were some of the biggest hurdles that you had to overcome?
On the bike, nothing really, just besides being fit and in shape. As far as doing documentaries and taking film crews around the world, that was definitely a challenge, getting through immigration, getting through customs, getting all the gear through all those places.
And all that's on YouTube, isn't it?
Yep, on Motorcycles and Coffee.
Motorcycles and Coffee YouTube channel. Excellent.
Yep. And And that was it, really. Just logistics of getting film crews around and having chase vehicles, setting up. I have always tried to work with Nat Geo guides, people who've done Nat Geo documentaries and assisted with National Geographic documentaries. I've always tried to use their guides to help me, because no different than, people trying to cross America, our founding fathers and all of that, they all use guides. If you don't go to a country, you don't use guides, you're going to miss a lot. That's all I can tell you.
Right.
You're just going to miss so much in the short period of time you're going to have access to that location. You want to see as much, and you want to be embrace that culture as much as possible. And the best way to do that is with a world-class guide and backcountry guide. I'm into backcountry, so it's backcountry guides and backcountry people. And that's how you're really going to understand a culture. So getting great guides, I guess, would be a hard thing, and people that can speak languages and stuff. When you ride by yourself, as we've done, the only hurdles there is just language barriers, really. I've never had any real problems.
Cool.
But it's pretty basic. I think the riding is, I don't know. I've ridden. The worst accident I've ever had was in India. I was riding on Ducati Scramblers, and we just finished up a ride through Rajasthan, India, along the Pakistan border, and really a unique bike to be doing a 1,200-mile ride on. Got to New Delhi, and I was rear-ended by a semi, and I heard the semi locking up its brakes behind me, so I put it in second, did a drag bike start, gassed it off the line, as hard as I could, and the truck hit me, and his bumper was a square bumper, and it went in between my tire and my fender, my rear fender, and it locked in like a Lego, and he just pushed me down the street. I never hit the ground.
Wow.
It was absolutely the best accident you could ever have.
Exactly, because you didn't end up under the truck.
I didn't end up on the ground.
Right.
It was awesome. Until the mob scene came around, and then we had a mob scene, and of course I was with my buddy Sid, who is one of my really good friends, and he's like, do not take your helmet off, because I'm the only white guy, right? And he's like, don't take your helmet off. Mob rules is insane. Mob scenes are horrible when you have hundreds of people blaming you for a problem, and they're all screaming at you. And luckily Sid called a local motorcycle club, I'll leave it at that, and they showed up, about 100 guys on bikes, and dispersed the crowd and unhooked the bike and told me to get the hell out of there.
Wow.
That's the real world, I guess, and that was the only real problem I ever had, like accident wise or anything, but that's it. That was pretty amazing, actually. But I've ridden all over, done the highest roads in the world. I've done Mongolia, Siberia, done South America, Europe. I've done all Southeast Asia. And my Southeast Asia trips aren't like most people, where they just go like in Laos, and I'd go up there. I probably crisscrossed Laos 15 times by myself, just camping in the jungle and stuff. In the Cambodia, I've probably done 10 times. But I do that with Rennie, who's one of my riding partners. I've done a lot. Vietnam, I've done 3 times. Backcountry, of course. When I say backcountry, it's real. It's backcountry. So it's kind of cool. I don't know. It's what I do.
It's awesome.
I hope I'm not being too boring for your listeners.
No, absolutely not. I'm not bored. If the listeners are bored, well, they can go do something else, but I'm definitely not bored. And
so the other cool...
Go ahead.
The other cool thing about the Nora 1000 and my relationship with Mike Perlman, and of course my relationship with Sal Fish, which I've had a relationship with Sal forever, and anything to do with score. Of course, Roger's wonderful. He's wonderful. Score, the Mint, Martellis, all of those people, Dave Cole. I've been making all their safety apparel since forever.
And ours.
And yours. I've made everybody's. Best in the Desert. Me and Casey Folks had a wonderful relationship. Our relationship was based around motorcycles, not so much racing. But yeah, I've had relationships. But for the Off-Road Hall of Fame and the Nora 1000, the most cool thing I could have ever done in probably my life is be friends with Lyman Shear, who's also completed the Baja 1000 13 times on a motorcycle. I believe it's 13 times now. And he is legacy. That guy is the shit. There's nobody more amazing than Lyman. And most people don't even know who he is. But he rebuilt the very first car to ever race the Baja 1000, which originally was the Mexican 1000. And that was a 1953 Triumph TR3. And that car raced in 1967 at the very first Mexican 1000. It was left in Mexico, and it was a chicken coop. And Lyman went down 43 years later, pulled it out of, I think it was San Ynez, and pulled the car out, drug it home, and rebuilt the entire car for the 50th anniversary of the Nora 1000, which AKA is the Mexican 1000, the predecessor to Score, right?
Right.
And I got to drive it. So I got to race the very first car to ever race the Baja 1000. And to this day, I'm grateful to Lyman for so many things he's done for me and my family. But that was one of the most amazing experiences. After that race, I was like sitting around, and Bruce Myers Banks, he's like, "What are you going to do next?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I thought I'd just race a UTV down here." He's like, No. Do the Manx with Lyman. So Lyman rebuilt a Myers Manx Toad for the 1968, I believe, Mexican 1000, and that was the first time the Manx Toad raced. And the Toad was used for the motorcycle guys, and they would pull the motorcycle guys out of the desert, if my memory is right. So you would have all the guys, Malcolm Smith and those kind of guys, and Bruce would go down there with the Toad, which is spelled TOW''D. And he'd pull the cars out, but he also raced it in that car. So Lyman rebuilt a Myers Manx Toad for the 50th anniversary of that car, and I got to drive it as well. And then, of course, we had the problem there with the COVID stuff and a few things, but we were able to do a rebuild of Sal Fish's 1970 Baja Bug. And we did that for the 50th anniversary of Sal Fish's Bug that he raced in 1970. And I got to drive that. And Sal actually got to drive it in sections and race, which was awesome. It was another beautiful thing. And he raced from La Paz down to Cabo for the finish line. And but to be part of that with Sal was, wow. I mean, how else do you freaking explain that to anybody? In my little world, in my little niche world, our little niche world, Rich, that's probably, those three things I did there were probably the most amazing things I've ever done in my life.
That's awesome to be part of that.
Yeah, I've done 3 50th anniversary cars, and Lyman's building another one right now, and he asked me if I could drive. I know Mike Perlman's cars, we're building Mike Perlman's cars too, well, Lyman is, and his 50th anniversary car. So there's 2 of them they're building now, and I've been tapped to drive one of them. I don't know which one they asked me to drive, but we'll see if I get to drive one or not. But if I do, man, how do you, that's it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's badass stuff, right?
It's pinnacle stuff. Yep.
I think so. In our little world, our little thing that we do, that's the shit, in my opinion.
So let's talk about the expos and what you've been doing there over the last few years. Are you still doing the car camping?
No, we do. So I'm the only guy left putting on off-road shows. that's not a corporation or whatever.
Right.
I am the last family show. We are it. We've been doing it in Arizona since 2002 or 1 or whatever that is. And yeah, it's just evolved, and we're back at Westworld. I changed the name up to the Dirt Expo. It's gone through a lot of name changes just because sand was sand. That was cool, but that's one thing. And I that's a niche thing. And then it was the International Off-Road and UTV Expo due to the fact that I was the first person to put on the an off-road expo type event in Baja. I did it in Mexicali, so we wanted to call it international because we were going back and forth across the border, and we did that twice. So that was really cool to be able to be that guy that brought that to Mexico. And then we changed it to the Dirt Expo just because we wanted to incorporate everyone, and I wanted a cleaner name, and I wanted all of that. And me and the guys at Casey Highlights and Maxis and a few other companies that have been with me forever since I was a kid, we had some meetings about that, and we made a judgment call that the Dirt Expo would be a much better name. And so we changed it to Dirt Expo, and this is the second year of that. We're back at Westworld. It's I don't even know, what would be 2002 to 2024. It's like 22 years of doing this. I guess that's what the number would be.
Yep.
And it's badass. We were able to do an event up at Havasu, and it went over extremely well up there. We still do the UTV rallies, which is going to take some massaging because it's kind of weird. It's become different. It's big, but it's different. I have to evolve with it. And now I'm doing the Arizona Outdoor Expo, which is core to my heart because it's Arizona and it's outdoors, and that is where I live and die. But the Dirt Expo is huge. For me, it's huge. It's my way. It's the biggest get-together of every single person I know in the state of Arizona. And all the community comes out, all my friends come out, and I get to hang out with my friends. And I just get to see all my friends, and we get together, and we bring together a big group of companies and a lot of cool things. And it's another one of those things that's absolutely beautiful. I get to be with all my friends and hang out with my friends. How do you beat that? That's what I want to do.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
I don't know how to put it. I guess the business part of it, the show and the vendors and all that. Honestly, that's like probably second to everything else. The biggest part of this is just to be with my friends and bring my community together in Arizona because nobody else does it.
And you're doing it in the fall this year?
No, I do it in December, first weekend of December every year.
First weekend of December, okay.
Every year for 22 years. It's the best time to do it. Everybody's like, do it before sand season, do it before the Baja, do it before. I'm like, buddy, Arizona's hot. December's perfect. If I do it after Christmas, it doesn't work. It's just perfect to do it right before Christmas. Everybody's out. People are shopping. The weather's great. It's Arizona. The wives are shopping, and if they want to come to the show, great. If they don't, the boys can come, and we can all just get together and have a really nice weekend together and enjoy the day and see some really amazing cars and some off-road stuff and meet with some great companies and bring the families together. I've always been about family. I always believe that kids get in free. I don't need to charge for that. Yeah, that's it. It's just Arizona off-road community comes together. We all hang out, and I'm proud to say I've been doing it for 22 years.
Excellent.
It's like my big party, right? My big Christmas party. How's that?
There you go. So what do you think is next on the horizon? Just staying with the hustle?
Well, we're doing the motorcycles and coffee thing now. And that's probably my end game. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's where I'm at. I found peace and joy in that. It took me and my lawyers a long time to get the motorcycles and coffee trademarks. We got multiple trademarks on that name. I've been out on the road now for 2 years, going to all my biggest motorcycle events, hanging out with my community, hanging out with all my friends from New York, Laconia, all the way down to Barber Vintage Days, to Sturgis, of course, Daytona, just hanging out with all my community and hearing feedback and learning more about what I need to do with motorcycles and coffee. And yeah, I'm going to start out. Hopefully, we got a tour coming up in January where we'll do a custom bike show. And we'll be at Desert Wind, Harley Davidson in Mesa. Then we'll be at San Diego Harley, Bartels Harley in Santa Monica. Then we'll be at Quaid. Then we'll do our grand stop, our championship show at Las Vegas Harley. And then hopefully I start up in brick and mortars and establish a 501c where I can have like museum stuff come in for bikes and really do that. That's what I want to do. I want to listen to loud music. I want to design cool shit. I want to make great coffee. I want to look at art, fashion. I just want to hang out and just go away that way and just really enjoy what I do. That's cool. That's the thing me and Casey had in common is, Casey Folks from Best in the Desert. Best in the Desert was originally a motorcycle event, right?
Right.
It didn't become a truck event until Kurt Leduc said, bring trucks in here, And Casey did, and Pete was part of that because that number 2 truck was, I believe, the first trophy trick truck that was ever made. And but me and Casey had that when he was doing his Trans-America Trail ride with Lee Banning and those guys. He would call me and we'd chit-chat on the phone quite a bit. And, of course, he passed away. And when he passed away, as motorcyclists do, we ride, So you ride to the funerals. So I rode from Phoenix up to the Orleans Hotel there where they were having a ceremony. And it was raining and it was muddy and it was snowing and all the chase teams were calling me, making sure I was okay, that we're all going there. And I'm on the Harley and I get there and there's no other bikes. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, did I make a mistake, And I walked in there and I'm all grungy and my motorcycle shit and it's all full of mud and I'm soaking wet. And I look up right when I walked through the door and all it was all his motorcycles all the way around the whole the room there where they had the ceremony. And I was like, fuck yeah, I did the right thing.
Yep. That's cool.
That was another beautiful thing. And people came up and shook my hand and said, you did good.
Nice.
I think so, huh?
Yeah. So
I think so. So that's my love affair with motorcycles and off-road tied into one last closing statement. How's that?
Perfect. Great segue. Absolutely. So I hope to get to see you at Ormhoff this year at the gala, November 3rd.
I hope to see everybody there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope to see everyone and everybody can hang out and have a beautiful night, right?
Yep. And I hope your back gets taken care of and that you're able to get back on your feet and do what you love to do. And that's that hustle.
Hustle and ride my motorcycle.
There you go.
Right on, Rich. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope I wasn't too long-winded and yeah.
No, I think this has been a great interview. Thank you so much for spending the time. I knew it would be great.
No problem, Rich. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, Andy. I'll talk to you later.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.